and walk away from the 97%. The mindset shift to wealth and success is not a matter of luck, talent, or circumstance. It's a matter of mindset. The vast majority, the 97%, live lives of quiet mediocrity, trapped by limiting beliefs, comfortable habits, and environments that stifle growth. They dream of wealth, talk about success, and imagine a better future, but they never break free from the patterns that keep them stuck. Meanwhile, the top 3%, the builders of wealth, the architects of extraordinary lives, think, act, and live differently. They've made a conscious choice to walk away from the crowd, to reject the scarcity mindset, and to embrace the discomfort of growth. What separates the 3% from the 97%? It's not privilege or innate ability. It's the courage to operate on a higher level, to take responsibility for their future, and to pursue excellence relentlessly. This guide explores the mindset shift needed to join the 3%, offering a roadmap to break free from the cycle of survival and step into a life of purpose, wealth, and impact. From mastering discipline to seeking discomfort, from building systems to rejecting excuses, these principles will show you how to leave the 97% behind and create a future that reflects your highest potential. The path to success is not easy, but it's available to anyone willing to make the choice. The divide between the 97% and the 3%. The world is divided into two groups, the 97% who settle for mediocrity and the 3% who build extraordinary lives. The 97% are not lazy or incapable. They're simply trapped by a mindset that prioritizes comfort over growth. They go through life on autopilot, working jobs they tolerate, living paycheck to paycheck and convincing themselves that this is just how things are. They surround themselves with people who reinforce their limitations, engaging in conversations about problems rather than possibilities. Year after year, they remain stuck, not because they lack potential, but because they lack the mindset to unlock it. The 3%, on the other hand, have cracked the code to success. They understand that wealth and achievement are not about working harder, but about thinking smarter. They've trained themselves to see opportunities where others see obstacles, to take action where others hesitate, and to pursue growth where others seek comfort. This mindset shift is what creates the massive gap in outcomes between the majority and the minority. The 3% aren't born special. They've simply made a decision to operate differently, and that decision changes everything. Success is not a mystery reserved for the lucky few. It's a process, a series of deliberate choices to reject the status quo and build a life aligned with your vision. The 97% stay stuck because they follow the wrong blueprint, modeling their lives after people who are also struggling. The 3% break free by surrounding themselves with those who challenge them to grow, by setting higher standards, and by committing to a long-term game. To join them, you must walk away from the 97%, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. You cannot rise while tethered to the habits, thinking, and environments that keep the majority trapped. The journey to the 3% begins with a choice: to think bigger, act bolder, and expect more from yourself. It's not about becoming someone else, it's about becoming the best version of you. The 97% settle for survival, but the 3% aim for significance. They build lives that inspire, create wealth that lasts, and leave legacies that endure. The 80 principles below will guide you through the mindset shifts and actions needed to make that choice and walk the path of the 3%. Principle 1. Adopt an abundance. Mindset: the 97% operate from a scarcity mindset, believing that resources are limited, opportunities are rare, and success is a zero-sum game. They see someone else's win as their loss, focusing on what they lack rather than what they can create. This mindset breeds competition, envy, and fear, keeping them stuck in cycles of comparison and insecurity. They might resent a friend's new business venture, assuming it means less opportunity for themselves. They hoard resources, avoid risks, and cling to what they have, missing the bigger picture. The 3%, however, think in terms of abundance. They know that opportunities are endless, that wealth is created, and that success is about adding value, not taking from others. They see a colleague's promotion as proof that success is possible, not as a threat to their own. This perspective allows them to collaborate, share knowledge, and build networks that amplify their impact. For example, an entrepreneur in the 3% might partner with a competitor to create a joint venture, knowing that working together can generate more value than fighting for scraps. An abundance mindset transforms how you approach challenges. Instead of dwelling on limitations, like a lack of funds or connections, you focus on possibilities. You ask, how can I create what I need, rather than, why don't I have it? This shift opens doors to creative solutions, like bartering skills for resources or leveraging free online tools to start a business. The 3% don't wait for the perfect setup. They make things happen with what's available. To cultivate abundance, start by reframing scarcity-driven thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking, there's not enough for me, pause and replace it with, how can I create more? Practice gratitude daily, listing 3 things you're thankful for to shift your focus from lack to plenty. Seek out environments that reinforce this mindset. Join communities of entrepreneurs, attend workshops, or follow thought leaders who embody abundance. Over time, you'll train your brain to see opportunities everywhere, from a chance conversation that sparks a business idea to a market gap you can fill. Abundance also means detaching from external validation. The 97% chase appearances, spending money they don't have on luxury cars or designer clothes to impress others. They live for likes, comments, and applause, tying their worth to how they're perceived. The 3% focus on building substance, investing in assets like real estate, skills like coding, or relationships that drive growth. They'd rather drive a modest car and own rental properties than lease a BMW and have no savings. By prioritizing creation over consumption, they build wealth while the majority remain trapped in cycles of debt and distraction. This mindset extends to how you view time. The 97% treat time as expendable, wasting hours on TV, social media, or gossip. They assume they'll always have more, so they squander it on low-value activities. The 3% see time as their most precious asset, investing it in learning, building, and connecting. They know that every hour spent wisely compounds into greater results, whether it's mastering a skill or nurturing a key relationship. By adopting an abundance mindset, you unlock the confidence to create, collaborate, and build a life of limitless potential. Principle 2. Take extreme ownership. The 97% are quick to blame their circumstances, the economy, their boss, their upbringing for their lack of progress. They make excuses, convincing themselves they're too old, too young, too busy, or too broke to succeed. If only I had more money, they say, or if my boss appreciated me, I'd get ahead. This victim mindset strips them of power, keeping them stuck in cycles of resentment and inaction. They wait for someone else to fix their problems, hoping for a raise, a bailout, or a stroke of luck. The 3%, however, take extreme ownership of their lives. They accept that their results, good or bad, are the product of their choices, and they refuse to let external factors dictate their future. They don't deny challenges, but they focus on what they can control. For instance, if they're laid off, they don't dwell on the unfairness. They assess their skills, update their resume, and network for new opportunities. If they're in debt, they don't blame the system. They create a budget, cut expenses, and find ways to increase income. This proactive approach turns setbacks into stepping stones. Ownership is about reclaiming control. It doesn't mean you caused every problem, but it means you choose how to respond. When you own your situation, you stop being a passenger in your life and start driving. For example, a single parent with a demanding job might feel overwhelmed, but the 3% would own their time, carving out hours for skill building or side hustles despite the constraints. They'd say, "This is my reality, and I'll shape it," rather than, "Life is too hard." To practice ownership, start by eliminating excuses. When you catch yourself blaming someone or something, pause and ask, "What can I do about this?" Write down one actionable step. Maybe it's researching a new career path or apologizing for a mistake. And do it immediately. Keep a journal of your goals and track your progress to stay accountable. If you miss a deadline, don't blame your workload. Own the choice to prioritize other tasks and adjust your schedule. These small acts of responsibility build a habit of control. Ownership also means owning your failures. The 97% hide from mistakes, deflecting blame to protect their ego. The 3% embrace failures as data, analyzing what went wrong and how to improve. A failed marketing campaign might reveal a misstep in targeting, prompting a better strategy next time. A strained relationship might highlight a need for better communication, leading to stronger bonds. By facing reality without defensiveness, the 3% grow faster than the majority, turning missteps into milestones. This mindset requires courage. It's easier to point fingers than to look in the mirror. But the 3% know that true power comes from accountability. They don't expect life to be fair. They expect themselves to be resourceful. By taking responsibility for every aspect of your life, from your finances to your relationships, you gain the freedom to shape your future. You move from surviving to thriving, proving that your circumstances don't define you, your choices do. Principle 3. Embrace discomfort for growth. Comfort is the enemy of progress. Yet the 97% cling to it like a lifeline. They choose predictable jobs, avoid risks, and shy away from situations that challenge them, believing that ease is the goal. They stay in roles that bore them, avoid difficult conversations, and settle for lifestyles that feel safe but unfulfilling. This aversion to discomfort keeps them stagnant, living below their potential. Because growth only happens when you're stretched. The 3%, however, understand that discomfort is the gateway to improvement. They seek out pressure, whether it's launching a business, speaking publicly, or tackling a complex project, because they know it forces them to adapt and evolve. They don't avoid hard things. They chase them, recognizing that the temporary pain of growth leads to lasting rewards. For example, an aspiring author might dread the vulnerability of sharing their work, but by submitting it to critique, they refine their craft and build resilience. Discomfort is a signal that you're pushing your limits, not a sign to stop. Consider physical fitness. Lifting heavier weights feels uncomfortable, but it's what builds muscle. Similarly, mental and emotional growth comes from leaning into challenges, like asking for feedback or taking a calculated risk. The 3% know that staying comfortable means staying small, so they choose the harder path, trusting that it leads to bigger results. To embrace discomfort, identify one area where you've been avoiding challenge. Maybe it's asking for a raise, learning a new skill, or addressing a conflict. Take one small action to face it. Schedule the meeting, sign up for the course, or start the conversation. Notice the discomfort in your body, racing heart, sweaty palms, and breathe through it, reminding yourself that it's temporary. Each time you push through, you expand your capacity, and what once felt daunting becomes manageable. The 3% also seek discomfort intentionally. They set goals that scare them, like starting a company or running a marathon, because they know that big dreams require big effort. They surround themselves with people who expect more, like mentors or peers who challenge their assumptions. They take on projects that force them to learn on the fly, trusting that the skills they gain will outweigh the initial struggle. This constant stretching builds mental and emotional strength, allowing them to thrive under pressure while the 97% retreat. Discomfort also builds grit, the stubborn resolve to keep going when others quit. The 97% give up when things get hard, assuming difficulty means they're on the wrong path. The 3% see difficulty as proof they're on the right one. They know that every challenge, from a failed venture to a tough negotiation, is a chance to grow sharper and stronger. By making discomfort your ally, you unlock a level of growth that the majority will never reach, setting yourself apart as someone who rises where others fall. Principle 4. Act despite fear and uncertainty. Fear controls the 97%. They avoid risks, hesitate on opportunities, and stay in their comfort zone, terrified of failure, embarrassment, or rejection. They wait for certainty, for a perfect plan, a guaranteed outcome, or the right time before taking action. As a result, they miss out on growth, letting opportunities slip through their fingers. The 3% aren't fearless. They've simply trained themselves to act despite fear. They see fear as a signal of opportunity, not a reason to stop. Action in the face of uncertainty is what sets the 3% apart. While the 97% overthink, analyze, and procrastinate, the 3% move forward, trusting themselves to figure it out along the way. For example, an entrepreneur might launch a product without knowing if it'll sell, using customer feedback to refine it. A job seeker might apply for a role they're underqualified for, learning through the process and building confidence. This willingness to act without all the answers creates momentum, turning ideas into results. Fear often disguises itself as practicality. The 97% tell themselves they're being realistic when they avoid risks, but they're just protecting their ego. They'd rather stay safe than face the possibility of failure, even if it means staying stuck. The 3% know that failure is part of the process. They expect it, learn from it, and keep moving. A rejected pitch doesn't crush them. It teaches them how to communicate better. A failed business doesn't define them. It sharpens their strategy for the next one. To build this skill, adopt a start-before-you're-ready mindset. Identify one goal you've been delaying due to fear, maybe starting a side hustle, asking for a promotion, or sharing your creative work. Take one small step today. Draft a business plan, send an email, or post your project online. Accept that uncertainty is part of the process and focus on the action, not the outcome. Each step forward reduces fear's grip, building confidence in your ability to navigate the unknown. The 3% also detach from outcomes. They don't expect every move to succeed, but they value the growth that comes from trying. A failed marketing campaign might reveal a new audience segment to target. A declined job offer might lead to a better opportunity through networking. By focusing on the process, taking action, gathering feedback, and adjusting, they stay resilient, recovering quickly from setbacks while the 97% remain paralyzed by the fear of loss. This mindset requires trust in yourself. The 3% believe they can handle whatever comes, whether it's success or failure. They don't need a perfect plan, they need the courage to start and the adaptability to pivot. By acting despite fear, you join the minority who create opportunities while the majority are still waiting for permission. Every step you take in uncertainty is a step toward the 3%, proving that fear is no match for action. Principle 5. Focus on leverage, not labor. The 97% believe that hard work is the key to success, but they work hard on the wrong things. They trade time for money, toiling in jobs that cap their income and leave them exhausted. They focus on low-value tasks, like answering emails, micromanaging details, or maintaining a lifestyle built on debt. They're busy, but they're not effective, stuck in a cycle of diminishing returns. The 3%, however, prioritize leverage, systems, assets, and strategies that multiply their results without requiring constant effort. Leverage is about working smarter, not harder. Instead of working overtime for a small raise, the 3% invest in a business that generates passive income, like an e-commerce store or a rental property. Instead of saving every penny, they buy assets like stocks or real estate that grow over time. They build systems, automated processes, scalable products, or strong teams that allow them to earn money while they sleep. For example, a freelancer, he might create an online course that sells repeatedly, turning one effort into ongoing revenue. To incorporate leverage, identify one area where you can multiply your efforts. If you're a consultant, write a book that establishes your expertise, attracting higher-paying clients. If you're an employee, learn high-value skills like data analysis or project management that increase your earning potential. Invest in assets that generate cash flow, even if it means cutting back on short-term spending. Start small, put $50 a month into a low-cost index fund, or create a digital product over a weekend. Over time, these leveraged efforts compound, freeing you from the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. The 3% also leverage time. They eliminate distractions like excessive social media or low-priority tasks, and delegate where possible. A business owner might hire a virtual assistant to handle emails, freeing them to focus on strategy. They protect their schedule, dedicating prime hours to high-impact activities like planning or skill building. While the 97% are busy but unproductive, filling their days with noise, the 3% are effective, achieving more in less time. Their leverage extends to relationships. The 3% build networks with people who open doors, mentors, partners, or clients who amplify their reach. They invest in connections that yield exponential returns, like a collaboration that doubles their audience or a referral that lands a major contract. By prioritizing leverage in every area, time, money, and relationships, the 3% create a life where their income and impact grow independently of their hours worked, setting them apart from the majority who grind for linear gains. Principle 6. Master discipline over motivation. The 97% rely on motivation, waiting to feel inspired before taking action. They start projects with enthusiasm, a new diet, a side hustle, a savings plan, but quit when the excitement fades or challenges arise. They listen to motivational speeches, follow influencers, and attend seminars, hoping for a spark to propel them forward. But motivation is fleeting, and their inconsistency keeps them stuck in cycles of starting and stopping, never building lasting progress. The 3%, however, understand that motivation is unreliable. They rely on discipline, systems, habits, and routines that keep them moving forward regardless of how they feel. Discipline is showing up to write 500 words a day, even when you're uninspired. It's sticking to a budget, even when you're tempted to splurge. It's exercising when you'd rather sleep in. The 3% have built routines that automate success, like daily planning, weekly reviews, or automatic savings transfers, ensuring progress even on tough days. To master discipline, start by creating one non-negotiable habit. Choose something small but impactful, like meditating for 5 minutes daily or saving 5% of every paycheck. Use tools like calendars, apps, or accountability partners to track your progress and stay on course. Set up your environment for success. Keep your running shoes by the door, block social media during work hours, or prep meals in advance. When motivation wanes, remind yourself that action creates motivation, not the other way around. Each time you follow through, you strengthen your discipline muscle, making consistency easier. Discipline also means separating action from emotion. The 97% let feelings dictate their work. If they're tired, they rest. If they're discouraged, they quit. The 3% do what needs to be done, period. They treat their goals like a job, showing up whether they feel like it or not. For example, a writer in the 3% might feel stuck but writes anyway, knowing that even a bad draft moves them forward. This emotional detachment allows them to stay consistent, while the 97% are swayed by mood swings. The 3% also build systems to outlast motivation. They create routines that minimize decision fatigue, like a fixed morning schedule or a preset workout plan. They track their habits, using apps or journals to see their progress and stay accountable. These systems create momentum, turning small actions into big results. A daily $10 investment might seem minor, but over 20 years at 7% interest, it grows into over $30,000. Discipline compounds, and the 3% harness it to achieve what the majority only dream of. Principle 7. Surround yourself with growth-oriented people. Your environment shapes your mindset, and the 97% are surrounded by mediocrity. They spend time with people who complain, make excuses, and settle for less, reinforcing their limiting beliefs. Their friends gripe about their jobs, their family dismisses their dreams, and their co-workers normalize paycheck-to-paycheck living. These relationships make small thinking feel normal, making it harder to break free. The 3%, however, are intentional about their circle. They seek out people who think bigger, push harder, and expect more, knowing that their network will either lift them up or hold them back. Growth-oriented people challenge you to level up. They share knowledge, hold you accountable, and inspire you with their ambition. For example, joining a mastermind group of entrepreneurs can expose you to new strategies, like optimizing your pricing or scaling your marketing, pushing you to act bolder. A mentor might point out blind spots in your business plan, saving you months of trial and error. Conversely, staying in a circle of complainers keeps you focused on problems, not solutions, draining your energy and ambition. To build a better circle, start by identifying one person whose mindset you admire, a mentor, colleague, or online figure. Engage with them, ask for advice, join their community, or study their work. Attend events where ambitious people gather, like industry, conferences, networking meetups, or online forums. Be selective, choosing relationships that align with your goals. If your current circle resists your growth, mocking your hustle, or urging you to relax, set boundaries or distance yourself. You don't need to cut ties abruptly, but prioritize those who fuel your progress. Your environment includes your physical and digital spaces. The 97% clutter their lives with distractions, mindless TV, toxic social media, or disorganized workspaces that sap their focus. The 3% design spaces that support growth. They curate their newsfeed with inspiring content like podcasts or articles from industry leaders. They create dedicated workspaces free of clutter, enhancing productivity. They limit exposure to negativity, unfollowing accounts or muting conversations that pull them down. By crafting an environment that reinforces ambition, they make success not just possible, but inevitable. This principle extends to self-investment. The 3% surround themselves with resources that elevate their thinking, books, courses, or coaching that expand their skills. They'd rather spend $500 on a seminar that teaches wealth building than on a new gadget. They view time with high achievers as an investment, knowing that one insight from a mentor can save years of struggle. By immersing yourself in a growth-oriented environment, you rewire your mindset, making the habits and beliefs of the 3% your own. Conclusion. Lessons learned. Walking away from the 97% is not about abandoning others. It's about choosing yourself. The 3% succeed because they've made a deliberate decision to think, act, and live differently, rejecting the comfort, excuses, and limitations that trap the majority. The principles outlined here offer a blueprint for joining them, but they require courage, discipline, and a commitment to growth. Here are the key lessons to carry forward. Adopt abundance. Shift from scarcity to possibility, focusing on creation and collaboration to unlock endless opportunities. See others' success as inspiration, not competition. Take ownership. Own your results, reject excuses, and reclaim control of your future by focusing on what you can influence. Your choices, not your circumstances, shape your life. Embrace discomfort. Seek pressure as a path to growth, knowing that discomfort is where you become stronger. Lean into challenges to expand your capacity. Act. Despite fear, move forward in uncertainty, trusting yourself to learn and adapt. Action creates clarity, while hesitation breeds stagnation. Focus on leverage. Build systems and assets that multiply your results, freeing you from trading time for money. Work smarter to achieve exponential gains. Master discipline. Rely on habits, not motivation, to stay consistent. Build routines that drive progress, even when you don't feel like it. Curate your circle. Surround yourself with people who inspire growth, eliminating influences that hold you back. Your environment shapes your destiny. The gap between the 97% and the 3% is not talent, luck, or resources, it's mindset. The 3% have trained themselves to operate at a higher level, making choices that compound into extraordinary results. They've walked away from the comfort of the crowd, embracing the discomfort of growth and the responsibility of ownership. Now it's your turn. Will you stay tethered to the habits of the majority, settling for a life of survival? Or will you choose the path of the 3%, building a future of wealth, purpose, and impact? The life you want is waiting, but it requires you to act today, tomorrow, and every day after. Make the choice, take the step, and let every decision move you closer to the 3%.